Hi, my lovelies. This is Tabby here from tabbies.ca. And today I have David from Gnarled Branch.
Yeah.
Woo!
Woo! Come on!
Oh, man, that's awesome. I love the enthusiasm. So, can you tell us a bit about what you do?
No. I didn't come here for that. Well, I'm a painter. I'm an illustrator, craft guy, uh, gardening person, and yeah, I do a whole bunch of different things, but mainly been doing the painting, fine art stuff within the past 10 years or so.
And those paintings are amazing. Like, you make your own original works, but you also do something called redirecting thrift store paintings.
Yes, yeah, that's been a series I started, probably around 2011 is when I started sort of, uh, working on that series, and it's really carried through nicely over the years, and it's a popular genre now. A lot of other artists are doing it, which is great because they're, preventing possible landfill by working on these, like I call them thrift store type paintings, but you know, people, will toss anything out, and it'll be like a landscape print, beautiful frame, and they're throwing it out. So I salvage that and either keep the frame, or if the print is in half decent shape, I will add in my own visions. And it went viral in 2014. Uh, I had a lot of great ringing endorsements from like celebrities like Pee Wee Herman, and it just was, social media just blew up, and still riding that wave, and keeping on with the series, doing new works, and it's been a lot of fun. I do, like you said, I do a lot of other things, but that was sort of the bread and butter so far.
They're really interesting. Like, I love the way you kind of you take something that has kind of like classic feel to it and give it a much more modern feel. Like, when you're done with it, it resonates. I don't know what it is.
Oh, thank you. Well, I on some paintings I try to match the coloring and the style of the painting to the original, so that my visions blend in nice. Other times I just go completely in the opposite direction and just go bananas. Uh, but I always try to ensure I have basically one rule is that I don't paint over top of the other artist's signature or name. I try to avoid working on originals because I work in acrylics, and a lot of original work is like landscapes are done in oil paint, so the paint won't adhere properly. And it's just, I don't like to work on somebody else's actual original piece. So I try to stick to lithographs and prints, and, anonymous paint by numbers. But from time to time, I will work on an original. But no matter if it's a print or original, I will never paint over top of the signature. It's not to disrespect the other artist. It's to salvage something that is probably going to be tossed in the landfill. Because even thrift stores, they have new stuff, new donations coming in all the time, and they have to throw stuff out. So you know, I try to get in there and buy some things and support them, or yard sales. But even people just throw stuff out on the curb, so I salvage that and try to fix up the painting because usually there's scuffs and scratches or water stains, and I'll touch them up so they disappear, and then add in my visions as well. So it's a lot of fun. It's been great, and it's amazing to see how popular the genre is. Like I mentioned, it's just like it seems like a lot of other artists are doing it.
No, and it's such a unique thing. Like, when you started this, it wasn't as a big of a thing as it is now.
No, uh, the genre of art has been around since Well, I think the first, when I did some research, it was in the 1900s. A lot of people thought that I was, Banksy had started it. Uh, he he did do a couple, and certainly swung the spotlight over to that genre, but he wasn't the originator. There was many other artists that were doing this sort of thing in the 1900s, and then all the way up, the 60s, that became quite popular. But now it seems like a lot of artists doing it now, and it's great.
It is good to keep it out of the landfills, that's for sure. And in our
Yeah,
throwaway society, a lot of it would end up there.
yeah, yeah. It's a shame. And I'm also, it hasn't happened to me yet, but I'm hoping that one day when I have a piece, I bring it into the studio and I take it apart, that there's some glorious treasure map that's
Yeah.
stuck in behind, or old money, or some sort of interesting find, in the back of the painting. But that hasn't happened yet. One day.
Well, I think all of us watched the Goonies. There's nothing better than the feeling of, like, I couldn't imagine the feeling of that map dropping out of the back of the picture.
Oh, that would be something. Yeah, yeah. I'd get the rubber legs just thinking about it.
Yeah. It's almost as good as the winning lottery ticket.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Money is good.
Yeah, money is good.
It helps.
Well, it makes it so you can actually make more art.
That's right. That's right.
Like,
Keep me off the
'cause-
streets.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Your art won't last very long in the weather. So I usually ask people where they learned their craft. And I know that you went to college and you took illustration in the 90s.
Yeah, yeah. I went to Sheridan College and I took interpretive illustration and graduated in '91, and became a freelance illustrator. And things were a lot different then. I didn't know internet, didn't have an internet, didn't have a computer, didn't know what that was all about. Computers were just starting to get into, like the Apple, was starting to just the start, and when I finished illustration at Sheridan, um, the technology wasn't there. They were just being introduced. And I thought, oh, there's no way. There's no way. There's no future with these computers being a tool. But, look at it now. So it's crazy. So
They
yeah,
also,
I graduated in '91, and it was a struggle. It was really had to actual physically pound the pavement with a portfolio, and look up magazines that had illustrations in them, and book publishers, and you had to get creative, and it was tough.
and you're right about the technology. When computers first came out, it didn't look like they could be anything, really.
No,
Just a,
no, they were basically used for typesetting and layouts, but like, I don't think computers will ever replace the human touch as far as paintbrush and paint and all that. But I'm an old guy, so that's the way I'm looking at it. But the technology now is, it's getting very close, with software that's, you can't determine if it's been done by hand or by a click of a mouse.
yeah, I understand that and I see that coming. It's a little worrisome, but like it's almost like the way records are. So when you play a record, there's all that sound in the background. And like I grew up on records. They kind of have a special spot in my heart. And
Yeah,
like with
there's nostalgia.
painting, like it seems like the digital stuff kind of doesn't have that. I hate to use the word dirt, but like a grit to it that
Yeah,
an actual painting does.
it's a different aesthetic. It's a cold. The modern stuff is more. It has a bit of a colder feel. But I think that with the AI that's out now, a lot of people are concerned about that. I think I think I don't think an artist will ever be completely replaced. I think an artist might have to have, even more struggle to get work. But I don't think an artist will ever be completely replaced.
I hope
And
that's the case.
in a variety of, genres, whether it's painting or sculpture or, anything.
No, and there's a special feeling to it. Like you said, the human touch. There's a special feeling to art that was handmade. So
Hmm.
hopefully we never lose that because with the AI stuff, like art's going to get cheaper, and that's going to make it more
Yeah.
difficult for the artist too.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I've seen some of these images, and some of them are quite interesting, but, I'm not, a lot of artists are really kind of freaking out by it, but I'm not, I don't, yeah, I'm it's a concern, but I don't see it as a complete, okay, well, we're doomed.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and we as a human species, we always seem to persevere. Whatever
yeah,
happens, there's always someone saying, doomsday, it's the end of the world, but somehow we're always able to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and move on.
that's right.
And I've even talked to a couple artists that have been able to utilize the AI art to help facilitate their art.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You just try to make it work to help yourself, to benefit yourself. And
Yep.
I don't know much about it. I don't know what programs to use. I'm too busy doing my own thing. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the next, say, 5 or 10 years. See what happens.
Yeah, it will be hopefully we find a way to use it for good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I know what you mean. And your stuff's so awesome. Like, why would you be concentrating on other stuff? You've got all those painted records that you just did there. I
Good
just,
records and light bulb ornaments, and yeah, I don't know. It just, maybe it's some years, at the beginning of the year, it's like, what the hell am I going to do? What's going to happen? What am I what am I doing? But this year, it just seems, I don't know, the year of the rabbit just really, I got plans, got a lot of enthusiasm, and starting out the gate right away, and doing new works and exploring new ideas, and it's going to be a good year.
that's exciting. And at the beginning of the year, if it's working like that, it's going to usually follow through.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I'm hoping.
So that's exciting to see what you come up with this year because some of your stuff is so, I don't know, like it's like it has a classic feel, but it's very modern too. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like it crosses genres.
Yeah, I like to sort of mish and mash different genres, styles, because I get bored so quickly. Oh my God, if I was doing the same thing every year, year after year, my Lord, I'd be jumping off a building.
I get the same way. I get so frustrated doing the same thing over and over again. I always have to do something different, which
Yeah.
doesn't always bode well when you're selling things online because
No, but I think you have to try, and don't be too hard on yourself initially if something doesn't work out, because I don't know how you work, but a lot of times the image, everything will be finished already in my head before I start, and it's already done, so I'm just basically copying the image that I have in my head, and most of the time it works out pretty close. Sometimes it's a complete disaster and you have a little cry, and you don't answer emails for a couple of days. You curl up with a blanket, and you just have a good cry. Then you get it out of your system, and then you start over.
the important thing is that you get back up though. As long as you get back up,
That's
it's
right.
never a failure.
That's right. Yeah.
So how did you move from doing illustrated work, like illustration work for magazines and periodicals, books, all that stuff, to
Hmm.
being where you are now doing online sales? Because that's quite a jump from because the illustrations aren't quite like the art, are they?
No, and the illustration, you're sort of bound by the customer, the client. So if they want a specific illustration for an article, you're sort of bound to doing that style, and also the deadlines are kind of crazy sometimes. They're quick turnaround. Obviously, you charge for that, but I just thought there was a lot more freedom in being in the fine art. There's a lot more risk, but I had to sort of explore doing the fine art, which allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do. That I was calling the shots. The illustration work was fun, and it was always great to see it published in a magazine or whatever. And then you go to mom's house and you put it on the fridge and you say, "Hey, see, you see, your son's not too bad. He's doing okay." So, and it was exciting, but it was also, I was like, oh, geez, I don't have I have no idea how I'm going to illustrate this, and then the pressure. So I sort of went on into the fine art, and when I first began Etsy, it was just mainly just to reserve the name, the Gnarled Branch. I didn't really have much faith in Etsy at the time because it was so brand new, especially to me, and I thought, are people going to buy a painting and not see it in person? Because usually you would sell paintings or whatever at art festivals or at a gallery or a coffee shop or whatever, and it just seems so bizarre to me that somebody would buy a painting without like seeing it in person, holding it and seeing how the colors work, and the technology I had at the time. Now I didn't have much money, so I didn't have a very very good camera, so I had to make sure that any photos that I put on Etsy, they were decent, capturing the colors and the way that the painting actually is. And Etsy was so different back then. It's evolved into a whole different animal than when I first began, because just it was for artists and artisans, and you had to make the items had to be handmade. Now it's everything and anything, like a department store, and there's a lot of knockoff stuff, and it's not as it doesn't it's lost its charm in a way. It's a big behemoth, everybody knows Etsy, but it's lost its charm that it had when I first began.
I feel
So
the same way. It's not as individual to the artist now.
no, and so Etsy though was a huge player in my decision to go to fine art, because it allowed me to sell work to a huge market. And not to gripe about Canadians, but I would say not 85 to 90% of my business goes to the States. Uh, I do have buyers from Canada, but in relation, it's not even close. Like, so to be able to have your work online and sell it and do it safely and securely was gigantic, huge.
And that is one really good thing about Etsy is it does help to protect both sides, the buyer
Yeah.
and the seller.
And when I
I
first started with Etsy, people were even reluctant to put their telephone number on. You know, never mind a credit card. To set up a credit card thing. With a website. It was just very they're gonna that information's gonna get leaked, and I'm not gonna. But now online buying is everywhere. Amazon. Nobody thinks twice now to put their credit card down and get a profile set up with a website, and it's no big deal anymore.
It's to the point now where they don't even mind doing it in smaller websites, like people's
Yeah, yeah,
individual websites, which was
yeah.
not a thing when it first started. Like, you
No,
know,
no. It was a lot of people were oh, I'm nervous, which is fine, because it was different times, and the security systems now are a lot more probably robust than they were at the start. So yeah, so I as soon as I got on Etsy and it was starting to roll, then I was, say moving on from illustration to fine art. So that sort of answers your question about illustration.
Yeah, no, definitely. No worries. Um, so like because when you did illustration and stuff, that's not really painting, right? Did you do
Well,
painting?
yeah, it could be because I would use like watercolor or acrylic or mixed media. So I would, do painting applications, but it's not like, it would be on canvas. It would be more like painting on illustration board, and wouldn't be very large necessarily because they would scan the image like with their computer or with actual scanners. It was a whole different, technology back then. So I would do painting, but a lot of it was like ink drawings and like like yeah, ink drawings and watercolor and pencil crayon and ink and all that stuff. So not like larger canvas pieces that you can do in fine art.
Like the one you have behind you, which I can see
Yeah,
is
this
quite
crazy
big.
thing. Yeah, yeah. Don't look too close though. You'll see the numbers underneath the paint.
But you learned to paint then before you did illustration, so you've been painting for forever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My mom can testify to that. Scrawling on the walls as an idiot child. Always trying to put my art out there, and yeah. So yeah, I've been. Yeah, I don't know if I couldn't paint. I don't know. My talent drops dramatically if I couldn't do art. So
No, but it's awesome. Like I love your art. Um, like even today is the National Pizza Day, and I love the way you do these marketing things. So like today you offered a discount for the harvest of the great slice, the
yeah,
great single
yeah,
slice,
yeah,
and the pizza delivery one, where the Jesus
yeah,
part-time job one.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
love the way that you do these kinds of fun ways to interact with your customers.
Well, well, you have to. I think the bottom line is humor and having fun. So people are so weary. I know I am. If I spend 10 minutes on Twitter, it's like, oh my god, what's going on? So I think humor is very important, and yeah, I think I started thinking about International Day this, International Day that last year, and or I would miss it, like, oh, Rubber Ducky Day. Oh man, I missed it. I'll have to remember for next year. So this year I'm sort of on the ball, sort of scoping out what's coming up ahead and see how it applies to some of my art that I already have available in prints or whatnot. So it's just a fun way. It was fun. It got people going. It got going on Instagram. People were sharing it. Um, so, and the more that you're involved, the more that you have your name out there and being bandied about is great.
No, agreed. The more exposure you can get, that's the more chances you have to meet someone who's going to really enjoy your art.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Excuse me. I know I couldn't believe Rubber Ducky Day was January 13th, which is the day that Ernie said it was Rubber Ducky's birthday.
Yeah, yeah. It was. Yeah, I was wondering why it was chosen that day, but then when I read that it was Ernie, the character, that was what he said. So I thought, oh, that's cool. So it's kind of fun to learn that.
Yeah, that's kind of a neat little tidbit. I know my son loves the Rubber Duckies, like all of the Rubber Ducky prints. He just loves them. I
Oh,
like
great.
Terror of the High Sea #2.
Yes. Yeah. 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 That was a tall ship print that I got. Oh, at some thrift store, Valley Village. And as soon as I saw it on the shelf, I saw the ducks. So it was already done. Immediately I thought, oh my God, I think I ran. I think I pushed over an old lady getting to the cats. Said, I got to get this home. I got to get started. I'm on my way.
That's
So
awesome.
Yeah, as soon as I see, and sometimes it is an immediate response. I'll see a print or whatever, and I like, oh my god, I got to do that. And then there's sometimes where it's like, okay, well that's cool, I like that. But then it takes a couple of months for something to sort of build up in your head. Or the worst scenario is 3 or 4 really good ideas, and I'll ask my wife, Noreen, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think of that? And then decide, and it's like, oh gosh. And then if it doesn't sell quickly, I think, oh, maybe I should have done it that way.
Yeah, the doubt creeps in.
Oh yes, oh yes, the imposter syndrome's like, what am I doing? I'm an idiot. I'm a loser. Why? Oh, so it's frustrating, but it all works out in the end. I'm just very impatient.
I'm also impatient, so I get it. I get so I want things now, right? I guess I'm a creature of
Yeah.
that impulse society.
And then when you think in your mind that this is a gold idea, this is a golden painting, and it's great, this is clever, it's funny, and then it sits there for a little while, it's like, what's wrong with you people? Let's go. Let's
They
stop
just don't.
dawdling around here, crying out loud.
You don't get the right people to see it. That's what's going on there.
That's right. Yeah, you gotta. It's like fishing. You gotta stay in your spot. You gotta keep to the plan. You just
Because
can't dive
eventually they'll
into the
bite.
water and you can't dive into the lake and grab the fish and say, "No, you bite that hook."
I kind of have an odd story for this. So as a little girl, my dad would take us out fishing, and I seen a smallmouth bass. Like I could literally see it in the water. So me, being a little kid, I'm like, oh sweet, I'm gonna grab my own freaking fish.
That's right.
Well, these bass have a fin along the back that is full of spines.
Yes,
So
that's
I
the
reached
defense.
down to grab him, and he sticks it up. Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah. He said, "Okay, let's bring it. Let's
Yeah,
do this."
he's like, take me on.
Right. And you said, "Uh oh.
Yeah,
All
he
right.
got away.
Right. I'll let you be then."
Yeah. So I have to ask because watching your art and looking at everything, do you like steak?
I love steak. I used to be
I also,
vegetarian. I'm not a vegetarian anymore. My wife is a vegetarian. Noreen's vegetarian, and when I first did my first steak painting, her reaction was like, "What? No, what? What are you doing? This is not right." Because it was like a outdoor north scene with like a lake and trees, and I just had this steak hovering, you know, and I don't know why I did it, and it sold very quickly, and I had a lot of red paint, so I kept doing steaks, and it was like I was starting to notice that because my art was going viral, that I was noticing a lot of artists were sort of copying me in a way, like the copying my concepts or my ideas, not necessarily the imagery, but just okay, I know where you got that idea from. So I thought, well, if I do a steak, if anybody dares do a steak paint, I'm gonna say, ha ha, got you.
and you've done some awesome steak paintings.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I getting hungry just thinking about it now. Got to get
Yeah,
the grill going.
I actually love steak too, so
There
yeah,
you go.
steak's near
See?
and dear to my heart.
Yeah, we're on.
I've never been a vegetarian. I grew up in a home with a hunter. My dad would have been greatly offended if I wouldn't eat his meat.
He was like that character from that sitcom, Ron Swanson,
I'm not sure.
Community, Community,
Okay, yep.
Parks and Rec, I think it's called, or something like that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, he was a character in the show, the sitcom, and he liked his steak and his scotch, and yeah, that was it.
Yeah, my dad loved steak. He loved his steak. All of us love steak, so I guess he passed it on.
Right? Yeah.
But so like you went into doing this specifically to make a business when you went to fine art?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I'm very selfish, so I couldn't think of getting up early in the morning every day and having a job that I despised. So I paid for it a little bit because living, right in poverty, basically, well, at the start was not fun. And there's been many times at the start where I did work, midnight shift at a factory or doing, factory work, just to, have the bills paid. But it's just something that was in my head that I wanted to give it a real good go. And if it didn't work out, then at least I tried. And I have to admit, if it wasn't for my wife, Noreen, I wouldn't be here today. Guaranteed. She was a huge help.
That's wonderful to hear because it is hard to do all of this, especially on your own. Like I have my husband and he's awesome. And he is so amazing because I bounce ideas off of him. He gives me different perspectives. He doesn't necessarily like the way I react to them sometimes, but but sometimes I do need to know what someone else thinks or feels of what I'm
Yes.
doing.
Yeah, yeah. And you have to be honest.
Yeah, you do have to be. And you know
Yeah.
what? There's no one who's going to be more honest than your wife or your husband.
No, and yeah, she's Irish and very honest.
I'm Irish too.
There you
But
go. See? So
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Almost to a fault.
we get a little spicy.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Why not?
Yeah. Oh, um, you know, I love the way that you keep recycling everything. So you're doing the redirected paintings, the records, and the light bulbs. So is that something that's really near and dear to your heart?
It is. It is. I would love to say that the main reason why I'm doing that is to, uh, be a beautiful person for the earth. And that's a solid two. But number one is it's very cheap. Like I can send out feelers for burnt out light bulbs, and sometimes I just have to pay for, if somebody's sending me a small box, I just pay for the shipping. But having all these raw materials that are upcycled, like scratched up records, find them everywhere. Especially yard sales or in the trash. They're old kids records that are unplayable anymore. Didn't cost me anything. When I first started getting yard sale paintings, I mainly got them for the frames because framing was so expensive. Or I would
Mm-hmm.
just go over top of the canvas and just paint my own painting over top because canvas and wood stretchers were like art. So it's so ironic that artists are generally not, the richest people in the world, but you leave an art store after buying three things and I think the decimal point's in the wrong spot. you Where
I
did
know
that
exactly.
go from?
I
Holy
know exactly
moly.
what you mean. You have to wait for like the Michaels coupon, the like
Yeah.
50% off the whole order, and you're like, okay, 6 months of
Yep.
supplies. Here we
Yep. Pushing the old lady again. Get the old
go.
lady out of the way. There's art supplies to be had.
What's she doing there, anyways?
Oh yeah, what's she doing?
No,
So,
it is
so yeah,
really
so
expensive.
the light bulbs and the records, they come cheaply, and it's, obviously it's great to know that preventing landfill and all that stuff, but it's mainly at the start it was because it was very cheap to acquire.
Yeah. And you have to do something to make it a little cheaper because it is
Yeah,
so hard to get into, right? Like before you have any type of name, it's
yeah,
it's really hard.
yeah, and then you can pass that along to the the buyer because it didn't cost you a lot to make it, so you don't have to charge a lot to sell it because you're making money. You know,
Yep.
that's I don't know how many hundreds of, probably not thousands of. I made beer cap pins. Uh,
I
so I
didn't know.
would I like to dabble with beer. Let's be honest. Okay. So there's beer caps that are lying around, and so I would cut out pictures and then captions, and then glue them into the beer cap, and then pour resin over top, and then add a pin mount to the back or a magnet. And
Oh,
they were a great way to make money because they were so cheap, and a lot of my friends would donate their beer caps to me, and I made all these beer caps, and they were a main staple before I was doing the redirected stuff.
and they're really fun too. Like some of those
Yeah,
captions were really kind of, they were good. Like
yeah.
the porn
Some are
writers and stuff.
some are a little sassy, a
Yeah.
little spicy, a little like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Couple I read a couple times. I'm like, oh,
But generally, yeah, they were, funny, sarcastic, ironic.
yeah. No,
So
I
they
mean
were fun to do. Yeah.
that would be fun to do. And you
Yeah.
have like when you look at your portfolio, there's so many different kind of things. Like, um, it almost seems like you're doing them in series, but like there's a definite theme amongst different pieces, if you know what I mean. Like there's
Yeah. Well, yeah, I like to do a lot of pop art stuff. I love Halloween. Love doing the Halloween stuff, and I love the sort of the vintage, like illustration type work. Like I would paint on the ornaments, like it's like a 1950s scene or something on an ornament. But yeah, I do go through cycles. I go through waves. When it gets close to October, oh, it's Halloween time. So yeah, I gotta go. Oh, yeah, listen to the spooky music and get ready for Halloween, making Halloween stuff for all the Halloweenies. So that's yeah, there are ebbs and flows every year that springtime, like this time of year I do the wacky, really bright colored stuff because it's so draining to look outside. The
yeah.
brown and gray and everything's overcast, and it's like, ugh, get some
No, I
color,
hear you.
get some sizzle. And then in the summertime, might change it up a little bit, and then Halloween time, and then Christmas time. So there's definitely a pattern.
And you're an outdoorsy kind of person. Like you really love the outdoors.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do a lot of gardening, and I love canoeing and going fishing. I don't grab the fish like your
Yeah.
technique.
Oh, I changed that technique. It,
You changed
it
that
wasn't
technique.
working.
All right. But yeah, I do. And it's nice just to go for like a walk on a trail. Noreen and I will go for walks, and you know, she's a much faster walker than I am. I'm always stopping and looking at. Oh, look at that! There's a mushroom over there. Oh, look at that! But
Does your wife keep walking? My husband keeps walking.
yes,
Like I'm
oh
the
yeah,
slower.
she'll leave like breadcrumbs, and I'll just follow the breadcrumbs. No, she waits for me.
Oh, I'll look up and mine's gone, and I'm like, Henry, where'd you go?
No, no, she's very she'll tell me to pick up the pace sometimes, but yeah, we're a good team when it goes for walks.
Good. So do you find like inspiration outside, or
I do like when I do like the sort of the whimsical fairy tale type illustration work. I have lots of like reference books of nature and stuff that I use for different projects or commissions that are required. But yeah, I don't go out with a sketch pad or whatever and do sketching. If I'm
yeah,
going outside, to go canoeing or fishing, I'm leaving work at home.
yeah, that's the whole point of going out there, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I find sometimes when I see stuff, I get like it'll be like a worm in my brain. It just won't go away. I'll keep
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah, I'll take a photo. I'll bring my phone and take a photo of something's really cool. Like, oh, look at the texture of that lichen on the rock or something, and or look at the moss on that old stump, then take a picture of it or something. Oh, look at that wolf chewing on Noreen's
Yeah.
leg.
You haven't seen any of those ducks, eh?
What a dramatic pose.
They duck around and find out. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool. And you can get
yeah,
like you have your art, so like you can buy the original, but you also sell prints and then print to order.
yeah. So I have sort of the setup that I have is with the originals. So there's the original that's available through Etsy. And then I will have, if there's a good sort of response to that piece, I'll have prints made up through a printer that I use, and then have the prints signed. They're not numbered; they're not like limited edition. They're just signed, and then I'll have them available on print to order websites like Redbubble, Society6, Fine Art America, and you upload that image to that website on your on your portfolio account page, and then you set it up for T-shirts, notebooks, spiral notebooks, stickers, skins for your technology gadgets, and so people can then order that. And then a lot of these print order websites, they have offices throughout the world, so the shipping is they'll have it produced and shipped to it to from an area that's close to the customer. And it's
Oh.
great because I don't have to worry about packaging. If there's something wrong with the print or if it gets stolen off the porch, I don't have to worry about it. Redbubble has to worry about that. I just get a certain commission on each sale.
So is that something that you would suggest other people to do as well? Like,
Oh yeah, I think it's an interesting. You're not I'm not driving around in a Ferrari. You might put some shrimp in your craft dinner, but it's I think it's a great way to have it exposed, in different formats like clothing or whatever. The only thing is that once when you have it out there on a sort of a system like that, that there's a high chance that it could be art theft, and I've had to deal with that lots of times where there was a painting that was quite popular. It was a redirected picture of based on the Saturday Night Live skit with Chris Farley living in a van down by the river. And so many times that image, the exact same image, even they would just airbrush or Photoshop my name out of or crop out my name out of the print. And there was a Facebook page selling that, and it was my work. And
oh
there's
my gosh.
thousands and thousands of people say, "Oh, this is awesome! This is great! I have to have it." And a lot of people don't care, who the artist is. They just want to have the print. So I missed out on a big payday because of art theft. So that's something you have to, consider. But you can sort of have protocols set up that when you upload these images, that you have a watermark on them, and so the watermark helps to prevent theft. But the way that these people get around is that they'll order a print, say off Redbubble, and then they'll like do a photograph or scan and then output it on a high res and then produce it themselves. So
That's crazy. That's
it's
crazy. Because
a
it's
nature of the beast.
yeah, it's still frustrating though because there's a lot of work that goes into pieces, and
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
when you make something, you don't get paid for your time unless you're actually getting paid.
yeah, yeah. And it's just frustrating because you see, people selling your stuff, and that like there's many times I'll do a quick glance on Redbubble and I'll see one of my, like, say the rubber ducky painting, that the tall ships, and it'll be on some other artist's website, the same image. And you look at their portfolio, and you can tell that they didn't create any of them because the styles are all different. It's just artwork that they've robbed and they're are selling it as their own. So that's a little frustrating.
So do companies like Redbubble kind of work to try to stop
Oh
that?
yeah, yeah. I think they're probably developing software that will pick that out. But I have a rep through Redbubble because I had done quite well a number of years ago. So I had a rep assigned to me, and I let her know about this, and within a few hours it was removed. So
Oh, good.
they're very good about that. They're very considerate of the artists, and they hate it just as much as the artist does. When there's art theft, it's just you have to point it out sometimes, and then it goes through a process for it to be removed.
Well, it's not exactly a victimless crime because it's not like artists make a lot of money.
No, 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 and you know, I kind of I'm kind of like a golden lab. I try to be in a good humor most of the time. So I'll look at it sometimes and say, well, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. That they think, oh, this artwork's good enough. I'm going to steal it and try to sell it myself. So
Yeah. Well, you know the whole version of that quote, right?
no, I don't.
So it's flattery is the sincerest imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Oh, for mediocre minds or something like that. But it's
Oh,
basic. It's actually really mean. That last part's pretty mean.
right. Well, as a person with a mediocre mind, I take issue with that. So
I
I
don't know if you could say that because your stuff is so crazy. Like you have you're so have so much stuff. On Redbubble, there's something like 275 different
yeah,
images.
yeah, I don't have a social life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff, I wish I had a better camera at the start because there would be so many uh, images that would have been nice to have had up there from the early days. But you have to have a really good image, especially if you're printing on like fabric or shower curtains and stuff. It has to be really good. So yeah, probably been a few more images up there that would have liked to have had, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, and as you do things, you learn as you grow. Like
Yeah,
you can't
yeah.
start out with all of the answers,
No,
unfortunately.
no, no, no. And it was, there's been some rough patches, but the last 10 years or so have been pretty good. So yeah.
That's good. And that proves that your hard work and perseverance is paying off because you have hustled. You have done a lot of work. And
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I am out there day and night.
But if you look at how much work you've done, like how all of your works, you have put a lot of effort into that. I know it's been a long time, but there's a lot of work that's gone into that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like I say, it's a big props to Noreen for providing the helping me out and keeping the morale up when things were a little low before I went viral. And oh yeah, and when we did art festivals or whatever, you know, Saturday morning you have to get up early to drive in the van to go to some godforsaken town.
And we're
Your
talking
foot,
like crack of dawn.
yeah, so no sleeping in for you, honey. We got a show, and so anyways, she was great.
And talking about those shows, like I know some artists absolutely love the shows, the craft shows and everything. Um, but they are time consuming. They're a lot of work. There's a lot of prep work that goes into it. And then a lot of
Mhm.
times people have experiences similar to yours where you get up, you go there, you do all this work, and there aren't that many sales. And you still have to pay for the table, and you still have to bring
Yep.
all of your stock and pay for the gas and eat. And
Yep. Yep.
sometimes you leave a craft sale, and like I've done this where I've left a craft sale, and by the time you bought in lunch, paid for your gas and everything, you're out money.
Yep. That's right. That's right. Or if it's an outdoor event, the week leading up to it, beautiful sunny day, beautiful, beautiful blue sky. Oh, it's wonderful. The day of the event, pouring rain.
And
It's
it's
like,
not a wedding. You don't want that.
oh my God, setting up the tent and all the artwork, and it's, blah. It's like, why do I do this? Oh, and then you get, you see, you've opened up a can of worms now, with this art show thing, because I just, see, a woman that's, because you think, oh man, if I could just make enough to, to cover the table, to cover the
Yep.
booth or the booth price. And there's a woman that's like, oh, I like that piece. And she's, doing the humming and hawing. And then her husband, who doesn't want to have a thing to do with this art festival, says, I want to get going. And, oh, okay. All right. And then she goes. Or people would say, oh, that's a cool painting. Oh, I could do that at home. But,
But
oh,
they
it's too
couldn't.
much. So
Yeah.
I don't. We did a lot of shows, and they were exciting. Like the Busker Fest in Toronto, the Scotiabank Busker Fest. It was huge, massive, but it was long haul. It was uh, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you know you don't by Monday morning. You don't want to look at another person. Too many humans. Like, oh
and
God.
and you have to be nice to all of them too, even if
Oh
you're not feeling
yes.
well or anything. Like,
Right. Or you get asked the same question over and over and over. You know, like, and I don't understand the fetish that some people have. Well, how long did it take? Well, that's a loaded question, because I've been doing this for a long time, so I'm getting quicker and faster at it. Doesn't mean that it's less value because I did that quicker. It's because, I'm not 23 years old in art college. I'm an old man, and I've honed my skills, so I'm doing a little quicker. But that's always a question.
well, and you know
And
what? The amount of time is based on your skill level, your
yeah,
experience.
yeah, and it's really irrelevant.
Yep.
My favorite is, like, let's say if I left the booth in the rains looking after the booth while I, get a beverage or something, and I come back and I used to paint wood furniture. So, like, it would be furniture, again, that was discarded, like side tables or chairs, kids' chairs, solid wood. I would fix it up and I would paint them, whimsy or pop art. And I did this one table. It was a side table, wood. It was round, so I did a pizza. Huh?
Yeah, I've
All
seen
right.
that.
Yeah. And this woman, I'm coming up and I'm holding a beverage, and she doesn't know that I'm the artist. And she goes, "Oh, would you look at that? Who would want that? Oh my God, a pizza? Why would you have that in your house?" And I said, "Well, I think I did a pretty good job on it." And she said, "Oh, oh dear." So
Oh,
sometimes these towns, they're very, banal, very anal, and you know, there's certain artists that do quite well, do the more traditional landscapes or cutesy stuff, but there's a lot of people when they pass by my booth, they clutch their purse, cover their children's eyes. Oh, we dare not talk to this guy. He looks like a real crazy person. So,
I think that might be a touch over the top. Some of your stuff maybe, but
Mother, why is there a steak in the sky?
they're migrating, honey.
Yes, that's right. They're going south.
I love those steak pictures. Like
Oh,
I
thank you.
like the take a beating one, like the he's fighting him in this like little steak pieces. I love that. I just love it. And I like a lot of that the pop stuff you've been doing too. Like the I don't know what it is about the older guy with like bumps on his head and he's got the phone that is like click.
Oh,
I just love that one. It's so cool.
yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's yeah. I really need to learn how to use color more often. It's very dry and boring colors. No, that one very bright colors. That was a little bit of spray paint on that one too. I think that was called because the guy has a black eye and cartoon bumps on his head. Is that the one I think you're talking
No,
about?
it's the one where it's the back of his head you see, and he's like got the phone in his
Oh,
hand.
he's holding the phone and it says click.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was a recent record that I did. Yeah. Okay. I thought you were talking about an older piece, but okay.
No, I know what you're talking about though with the black guy and the bumps on the head.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. With the
That record is
stars.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um
Yeah, I like the
it's
sort of the vintagey comic, 1950s, 1960s comic. So that's sort of was where I sort of got inspired for doing some of those pieces.
so like do you just get your inspiration kind of wherever because those ones were obviously the 50s, 60s. And then there's other ones that are I guess a little more macabre.
Hmm.
Like where do you find your inspiration for so yeah.
Oh, I guess well I like getting creepy. I did a pretty creepy art show at a place in Perth, Ontario. A friend of mine,
Okay.
he has Keith Busher Concave Gallery, and I had a show there. And the whole premise of the show was that I created artwork listening to just one particular group called 400 Lonely Things. And they do sort of macabre, morbid, instrumental, ambient type music. And kind of get in like an actor. You know how an actor sort of pulls in and gets sort of into the character. And I was getting a little dark there, getting a little dark. But I liked that exploration. It was interesting to do that and really, go for it. Not just do, some dark, use black and grays and stuff, but really tap into something, that, maybe you don't want to revisit that, So exciting and very happy that Keith at Concave Gallery there, said, yeah, that's an interesting concept. Let's go with that. So that was fun. But I do have a dark side. You have to have balance. I can't be, Jimmy laughs a lot all the time. The dark Tim Burton-y creepy stuff is right up there in my wheelhouse. So no, not necessarily. I don't like scary movies, like horror movies and stuff. I'll watch a little bit of it, but no, I like to create the darkness. I don't necessarily get immersed into it. So if you were
Well,
to
I
ask
don't
me
think
what's my favorite horror movie, I wouldn't know what to say.
well, I think like for me anyways, I don't really care for new horror movies. I like the older horror movies. Like I like Freddy and I like Jason. I like that kind of era. I don't
Yeah,
like pretty much everything past the first Saw. I'm good. I don't need it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm completely ignorant now with movies. I have no idea what's going on. All
Yeah.
these new Star Wars, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that too. I have
So.
a little guy. I have no life.
Yeah, see, there's no there's no kids here, so I just watch the old stuff, and that's what and a movie theater. What's that? I haven't been in
Oh,
one in a long time.
oh, we're
Obviously
all.
with COVID, but before that, I wasn't, unless there was a big group of us that would go, that kind of makes it fun. But
It's
I
hard.
knew I
Like
was
they
getting
want.
old because the sound was far too loud.
Yeah,
Like old man. Oh my God! Turn the volume down.
I know what you. I know what you mean because I took my son to see Paw Patrol. This is how young my little guy is. Like last year, we went to see Paw Patrol, and it was just like, wow, this is a kids movie. Can you turn it down? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that Dolby logo comes on, and the ground starts shaking.
it's so true.
My dentures are falling out. No,
And then
no,
it
I don't.
finally ends, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
because they have that
yeah.
that
And then
original
you
sound.
can't hear anything after. It's like you were beside a jet airplane, and the rest of the movie is just muffled.
It's like when you're in high school and you go to a dance and your friends sit right beside the speaker and you
Yeah,
go with
yeah,
them because they're your friends, but
yeah. You get the ringing in your ears for the next few days, and who wants that?
yeah,
And
well,
how much is it now to go to a movie? $50?
a lot, yeah. It was
Yeah,
we paid a lot. I think,
yeah,
and
like
I
popcorn.
oh yeah,
Yeah, no, it's I don't know how parents do it on a regular basis.
it's now we know why it's Netflix and chill, right? That's how
Yeah,
people
yeah,
date. It's
yeah,
so much cheaper.
yeah. Oh, yeah, I've ever since with COVID, it's really brought out my whole hermit tendencies. Like I feel like I'm a big time explorer when I go outside just to get the mail. It's like, oh my God, I got the mail.
I put
I can
pants on.
talk thing now. Or, oh man, did you see me, Noreen? I just took the garbage down to the end of the driveway. Wow.
I got my sunshine.
Yeah. Now I'll hang out in the backyard. The backyard, we set it up pretty good with privacy and all that. But I'll look out the front door quickly, and like neighbors must think, wow, does anybody live there? I see a weird guy that comes out once in a while, but hmm,
He just scurries out with the garbage, grabs the
yeah,
mail, and runs away.
yeah, yeah. Well, I have red eyes and
Paint on your fingers.
yeah, yeah. Get the kids, get the kids. He's outside.
They were at your stall. That's why.
Well, we decorate the house nice for Halloween, so the kids always come up. So that's their time to say, oh, there's that weird couple there. But it's all right because it's Halloween. So
Now it's acceptable.
right, yeah. But the day after Halloween, no, no, you got to walk pretty quick when you pass our house.
Before I get too carried away, I ask every one of the artists that come on, what advice would you give to someone who was an emerging artist? So someone who wanted to do like the same, wanted to do the art online. What would you tell them?
Don't. It's a terrible decision. What's wrong with you? No, no, it's oh my gosh, it's a good question, but it's also a loaded question because uh, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of sacrifice. Um, my financial house was not in order for the longest time, and I was fortunate to go viral for a few years, and things turned around. But it is hard. It's very hard, and you have to sort of put yourself out there as far as how people can be. People can be very rude. And especially if you're putting out a piece of work that's a piece of you, and you put it out for sharing, and sometimes you get some people that are pretty nasty, whether they know it or not. I don't, sometimes I'm sure they do, but you have to, I would say, draft up a plan, and allow yourself for a lot of fail. There's going to be a lot of failure. There's going to be a lot of frustration, but use technology as best as you can. And I think if you're going into art school or art college or whatever, is really take advantage of that time to experiment and learn as much media as you can. Because a lot of artists at the start they just stick with something that they're comfortable with or they're good at. I'm going to just do some illustrations of birds because I'm really good at drawing birds. Well, that's great, and don't keep doing that, but work on things that are beyond your scope and your comfort level, especially in college, because you do have grades and stuff, but it's really a good opportunity to really explore different mediums and try different things, and you might hit something that you never thought that you'd be good at. I would I used to teach art classes to like children to adults, and I always asked them to have two sketchbooks. And one sketchbook is a sketchbook that you're not afraid to share or show, a teacher or a friend or whatever what you're doing, and have another sketchbook that's just for you. No one's going to see. So that is the most honest sketchbook because you'll be doing stuff that you don't care if people see your mistakes, and you're because you're going to be making mistakes. You're going to be making a lot of mistakes, but that's how you build on it, especially with the fine art. You see how people can do life drawing and do a drawing of a model, and in their first year it's okay, but by the third year or fourth year you really see a big difference in the final product for the drawings and stuff. And you have to use it every day. It's like a language. So, but be prepared for a lot of frustration, and don't think that you're going to have a cottage or a second car. Learn how to make pasta because you'll be eating a lot of it, or rice.
Yeah, yeah,
But
because
I
it's not a
don't know that
big
that's
wage.
I guess I'm sort of pessimistic, with that. But it's difficult. It's a difficult trade. But anything worth it, like if you really want to do it, you're going to do it. You're going to see it through. But be prepared for some dark times.
No, and that's really truthful advice
Yeah,
because it is
and
like that.
it
What's that?
is, and you're going to. But it's the best thing ever when things are going well, because you're living your life on your terms, and you're doing it on you're doing things on your own terms, and when you have success doing that, it's really cool.
Yeah, and you're being true to yourself, living the life you want to live.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And when you're first starting, you can have a part-time job, so you don't. I'm just afraid of people getting stuck financially, because especially now things are just crazy. uh,
Oh yeah.
Rent and whatnot is just bananas.
Oh
So
yeah.
just you know, be cautious of that, and have a plan, a thoughtful plan, and discuss it with your friends or family and see what they have to say. I was very fortunate that my parents, when I decided to go to art college in Sheridan there, they were supportive. They were cautious. They would say, "Oh," but being happy is very important too in life. And I don't think I would be very happy if I was doing something, had all the bills paid, but I was doing something 9 to 5 that I really didn't like.
And
So
that's really important because they don't teach you, they teach you all this stuff in school and your parents teach you all this stuff, but the really big thing is to be happy. Like if you don't
yeah,
wake up content with your life every day, then I
yeah,
mean, what are you doing it for?
yeah. And not every day is going to be happy, like
Oh
I'm
no.
I'm living high on the hog, very happy with things are going, but there's some days where it's like, oh my lord. I'm not
Yeah.
going to do any art today. I'm going to do something else. I'll do paperwork, or I'll do something that's relative to the business, but I'm not going to paint today because it's just going to frustrate me, and then it's going to be a waste of time.
So are you one of these people that has to be in the right kind of mindset to paint?
Yeah, but sometimes when there's deadlines for a commission or whatever, you just gotta sack up and go, man. You just got
Yeah.
you got you gotta go. You gotta do it. You gotta get it done. And you put on some music, music, or you make a nice smoothie, and away you go. And sooner or later, you'll get into the flow. You get lost, and in getting creative and all that. But yeah, there's some days where it's like, oh,
I think everyone has those kinds of days, even if you
for
aren't doing
sure.
art or, like you just, some days you just don't want to.
Yeah, yeah, it's just not working.
Yep. Um, I know I have, I have days like that too. I, I
And I
love
think
the
that
way you, huh?
oh, I'm sorry. I just think that it's probably good to have days like that, because then when you're having a day where you're on, and it seems like everything that you're doing is great, then that day is even more special because it's not every day. So I think it's necessary to have some bad days where it's just like you can't draw a straight line. You forget what the color red looks like. So,
Those are the days you're a vegetarian, right? Like, no
right.
meat.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I'm sucking on a celery stalk.
a Caesar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that could help too. Yeah, sure.
No, I think you're right though, because if you don't have those bad days, you don't get to really enjoy the magic of the good days.
Yeah, yeah,
And when everything works out perfect, like when you sit down to do something and it just seems to like fly off the paintbrush, like those are good days. Like you feel good.
yeah. It's therapeutic. It's amazing.
It is very therapeutic for sure. Um, I I love the way that you do the humor thing, and I know you did talk about how you add the humor to your stuff, but I just wanted to mention like you do the news anchors and the like the Star Trek things when you announce your. I love those. I just adore them.
Oh, you are very kind, because my Photoshop skills are not as good as when I used to work with Corel Draw eons ago. But I think sometimes the rough looking Photoshop jobs that I do for the Facebook banners, I think it just makes it funnier. That it's not polished, that it's. And I just thought of ways to present art or the prints in an image that is unique and sort of fun. So I came across these pictures of news anchors, and I thought, oh, this is it, because it's great for the dimension, for Facebook, where it's narrow and
Yeah.
across. So yeah, I just think of unique ways to present my art, especially if it's a print that people have seen before, but present it in a different way, and people will share that and with others, and then you'll get some new eyeballs on it, and they share, and so forth. Humor is a very powerful thing, and when you see someone that is enjoying what they do and having fun with it, that I think that is contagious. And those people are, might be having a bad day. They're looking on their phone, and it's a crowded bus going to work, and they see, a 1970s anchor person and my art, and they just say, "Oh my God, that's so stupid," and it brings a smile to their face, and they say, "Oh, I'm going to share this with so and so." And so I think humor is a vital tool to use to, get your art out there.
And you are very effective at using that humor to get people to look at your art. Like I just love what you're doing. I
Oh,
I really am like I love the amount of art you have, which is crazy. Like I know you've been doing this for 14 years or so, but the amount of art you have is
for
a lot.
well, been doing it for a while, since I'm not very good with math. I need my abacus. Where's my abacus? Been doing it for a long time. Yeah.
No, I love it. And you know, here's to another, you know, 20 years or 30 years or as many years as you want to give it, because I love what you're doing. I know
Well,
I
I'm I'm 53 now, so let's go for another 53 years. Let's go for that.
53. All right.
All right, let's go. Let's do
Yeah,
this.
ambitious.
That's right. I'll be drooling in the corner with a paintbrush and
Now it's watercolor.
that was watercolor. Damn it.
Oh, I love that. I love that that sentiment. Thank you so much for being here. Like, I really appreciate you coming on the show and meeting with me. Like, I have been drooling over your art for a while now, and I know you were very busy before Christmas, so we weren't able to connect. But
Yeah, yeah.
I'm really thankful that you took the time out of your busy schedule to meet with me.
Well, I thank you for inviting me and letting me say some silly stuff.
Yeah, it was awesome. I love laughing, and yeah, having humorous people around is never a bad thing.
No, that's true. Well, there's serious people. There's their place, and then there's jokesters and guys like me, women like me that are just like, oh,
Hey, we need a little bit of everything, right? Like
that's
you said
right.
before, it's all
That's
about
right.
balance.
That's right.